I'm Dr. Sharon Saline, and I think we're live. I'm very excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about one of very important topic, which is avoidance, and how can we, um, help get yourself motivated to do things that you otherwise do not want to do. Um, let me know where you're from and what is something that you are avoiding doing. So tell me where you're from and what is something that you are avoiding doing. Hmm. Let me greet you all personally. Hi, Tori. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Casey. Hi, Rosalind. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Janet and Marlena. And let's see, I have a decluttering and Kelly and Glenda, a couple people. So what someone does in Scotland doesn't want to write reports. Excellent. Um, in Florida, my kids avoid homework. Okay. So how are we going to deal with avoidance? That is so good. Um, mhm. All right, so let's get started. Hello, Shirley, decluttering from Florida, decluttering my house. Hello, Susan from England. Hello, Teresa from Florida. Oh boy. Hello, let's see, Elizabeth from Tennessee, decluttering. You can't make out what I'm saying. Can you hear me now? Avoiding housework. Bozeman, Montana, decluttering. Let's see, no sound. Annie, can you tell me if you can hear me? Watching from Edmonton, Alberta. Clutter, a lot of clutter things. All right, well, let's talk about that. I think clutter is a great thing to talk about, decluttering in particular. Um, so, how can we get started on dealing with decluttering? Um, I think that is a challenge for many of us. Paperwork. Regina SK, you're coming from there, Tori. I have so many great ideas, but avoid action, avoid paperwork, cover letters, avoiding responding to an important email from the teacher of a potential job for future training. Louise in Ireland, hello. Um, you can hear me. Okay, decluttering job search, paperwork. Okay, all kinds of things. You can hear me. I'm so glad. Gail from Cape Town, hoarding. Um, Gray day, back in Canada. Avoid doing what I should until the last minute. I think I might have ADHD. I can hear you. I finally made it live. Yay, Cassandra. Hello. Lisa, I avoid everything. I hear you, no problem. Okay, great. So let's talk a little bit about avoidance. Tell me a little bit. I'd love to hear from you. How do you feel when you avoid something? I don't know about you, but a lot of people feel terrible about themselves. They're avoiding it and they say all kinds of things to themselves to put themselves down when they're avoiding it. So I'm curious, what is that negative voice in your head that's telling you that how you feel when you avoid something? So let's see, like a loser, crappy, low self-esteem, anxious. Right. So we have this behavior that we do, we avoid, and then we have this negative voice that goes with the behavior because that comes after. I feel terrible about myself. It gets me super depressed, which makes it work. I beat myself up. So it's interesting. You feel guilty, feel overwhelmed because I can't get started, lots of anxiety, you feel ashamed, awful self-talk. Okay, so here is the thing. I think that we have if we're going to there are two ways to deal with to deal with there are two ways that we want to deal with avoidance. The first avoidance is all the things that you're not doing. So whatever the activity is that you can't stand, and then the emotional side of that. the laziness, the anxiety, the imposter syndrome. Others can do it. Why can't I do it? I feel overwhelmed. I get into negative self-talk. I'm unaccomplished. I'm depressed. I feel bad. I'm never going to measure up. Um, I don't like repetitive tasks. I can't do things. You feel terrible and you can't stop doing it. So I think that's one of the main things about avoidance that we want to talk about today, because I've talked before about productive procrastination and about perfectionism, but we haven't really tackled avoidance procrastination. So let's break it down. So, avoidance procrastination is dread of an unpleasant task. And it's not that the task itself is so terrible, it's that our perception of that task is incredibly distorted. The task has gone to something small, like I need to follow up on this email, to the email is now like I'm climbing Mount Everest. I have no trail. I don't have a Sherpa. I'm doing this by myself. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what to expect, and I can't get started. So, when this happens with avoidance, um, we have a conversation that we tell ourselves. One conversation is that what something that leads us to avoid the task, and the other is how we treat ourselves because we've avoided the task. So the conversation that we have about avoiding the task has to do with I hate this, it's boring, I don't know where it begins or where it ends, I'm not sure I can do this. Um, I've done this before and it hasn't worked out. So why is it going to be any different this time? So one of the underlying, I think, assumptions that we have about avoidance is I haven't succeeded at this before. Why will I succeed this time? That's one thing. And the second thing is that I can't. Um, I'm sorry, I'm reading that someone is close to leaving because the interruptions are many and we can't fully know what is being said. I'm very sorry about that. I don't know what to do about it. Um, some of you have interruptions, some of you don't. So I want to go back to what I'm saying is that we have this conversation about avoidance. So it's about the actual act of avoidance, which is I dislike this thing. Um, it's unpleasant to do. I don't personally want to experience the discomfort or the unpleasantness of doing it. And, or I failed at this before, or it hasn't worked out for me. So why do I think it's going to work out this time? And so I'm not going to try. It's the kind of it's kind of why bother? I expect failure. So let's break those down. Okay. So, um, the first one is this task is unpleasant. And for the ADHD brain, the now not brain, the unpleasantness of doing a task feels endless. So when you have something that you have to do that you don't like, you can't see that that there's something on the other side of that task. That you'll finish that task and then you'll get to the other side and it will be okay because the now moment is terrible. And that has to do with that now not brain that goes along with having ADHD. I don't if I'm in it, I'm in it. If I'm not in it, maybe then it's not in my face, it's somewhere else. So, one of the challenges with avoidance procrastination is that the size of the task is either too big, in reality, it's too much, you haven't been able to break it down into chunks, or your perception of the task is that there's so much weighing on this task that you can't start it because if you don't do it right, something terrible will happen. So the thing is that actually being able to break a task down into smaller bits is the number one solution to dealing with avoidance procrastination. Because when you can't get started on something, the task seems too big. And that too bigness can be it's unpleasant, it can be the actual elements of the task that seem overwhelming, or it could be the energy required to do the task. So, what we have to do is break it down into smaller pieces. And if you can't break it down, then into a small enough piece that you can actually get started, then the pieces aren't small enough. So, what I'd like you to think about is a task that you're dreading. And what about it is so unpleasant? I don't like I have a lot of clutter. I can't see my way out of the clutter. I don't know where to begin with the clutter. Even if I do a little pile over here, there's still so much else left. Decluttering was an issue for many people. Some of it had to do with work projects. I don't want to get started. It's going to take a lot of time. It takes so much time. It's hard for me to write. And for others, I don't know how to break things down. So let's start with that. I have a number of people saying, I don't know how to break it down. It's the never ending of it, the maintenance, how I clean someone else's house, but my own, it seems like wasted energy. So what makes it hard to break things down has to do with I mean, a lot of these executive functioning skills, interface when it comes to procrastination. So what makes it hard to get started um, has to do with issues with initiation, but also issues with time management, organization, and planning and prioritizing. So let's roll it back. Let's roll it back a little bit. I'm just going to increase my light because I look a little bit too dark here. Um, when we have to prioritize something, when we can do a brain dump of the things that we have to do, or we have the task and we want to break it down into components, what we have to do is look at what are the most important aspects of this and what are the urgent aspects of this. Urgency has to do with time pressure. There's a real sense that this needs to be done now, and if I don't get it done, something bad is going to happen. Okay. Importance has to do with a value, how a goal, an ability to perform in a certain way. And so, what happens to a lot of people with ADHD, if we think about the Eisenhower matrix, is that you end up living in the urgent and important quadrant, which is quadrant one. And that is the quadrant of emergencies and crises. There is where you get something done. Why? Because you are up against the wall and adrenaline, cortisol is now flooding your brain and activating your brain to be engaged in the activity. This motivates you to get started. Okay. But this also creates a lot of stress in your body. And so what we want to do is to live in a way where we get stuff done, but we decrease the stress. And how are we going to do that? What we're going to have to do is to look at our task and figure out, how can I break it down? What are the elements of the task? And what happens for a lot of people is they don't do this step because it's not fun. It's just not fun. It seems, boring and a waste of time. And I'm not actually getting anything done. I'm just talking about or thinking about how I'm supposed to get something done. So it's not helping me move forward. This kind of thinking is thinking. Okay, you are sabotaging yourself by thinking this way because what you actually need to do is spend a time before you do something so you can accomplish it effectively. When you were in school, some of you may have sat down to write a research paper with all the books open up around you. You don't have the quotes taken out, and you're going from book to book, and you're trying to figure out what you want and put it in the paper, and it took you hours to write a paper. Because what would have saved you time was to say this quote, these pages, to make a document to say these pages have this information, these pages have this information, this is where this is. So you could go back to it when you needed it while you were writing along. It's like, oh wait, where is that thing about perfectionism? Oh, okay, it's on in these pages. Let me go to that. So one of the things that we have to do is actually plan to do something. We have to plan to break a task down. We have to prepare to accomplish something. And what we need to do is to talk back to the voice in our head that tells us it's stupid to prepare work to do work. It's not. It's not stupid. So we want to do one thing at a time, one task. Someone wrote here, my books were riddled with Post-its in college. Um, Elizabeth, wait, is there a different way to do it other than book spreading? Sometimes book spreading can work for you, sometimes it can't. But one of the issues is someone said that they have trouble breaking tasks down. So perhaps book spreading works for you. I was just using that as an example. Um, but if you're able to organize your notes on one subject in one document and another subject in another document, you wouldn't be scanning all the time through these resources as you're writing, which makes it harder. So this gets us back to list making because avoidance actually tells us that lists are stupid and we don't need them. And besides, the list that we make has 40 things on them. So I'm working with someone who has a who used to make lists of 40 things that they had to do, and then would cross off 3 at the end of the day and feel like nothing had been accomplished, right? And he would avoid the other things on the list. Okay. Now I said to him, make your brain dump, dump out those 40 things, and instead take 5 of them and put them on a separate piece of paper, a separate piece of paper. And I want you to put the original piece of paper away out of your eyesight and only work on the piece of paper with the 5 things. The next week he came back and said, this is working better for me because I can do 2 or 3 of the things on the 5 list and I don't feel bad about myself because I'm getting something done. So lists help you break down an unpleasant task into smaller pieces. So you apply the time issue to your tasks on your list of 5. When is this due? When do I have to do it? And the importance issue. What are those things that have a lot of value to me? Okay. So that's the first way we're going to start with dealing with avoidance. Breaking things down into parts makes them more manageable to attempt because you're asking yourself to do a tinier task. So, for example, if you have a lot of clutter in your kitchen, how would you break down going about to reduce the clutter? You'd have to start with maybe clearing one counter. Or maybe you need some boxes. This is where the mail is going to go. This is where clothes are going to go. This is where old newspapers are going to go. And you put them in different bags so that you have places for them. Okay. So look at your counter and see what's on my counter that isn't working. And then find a place to go and make a list. I'm only going to do mail and trash. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to go through each counter and I'm going to do my mail and my trash. And whatever is not mail and trash can stay there till tomorrow when I'm going to look at my counter and see what's left. So we have to really try to break things down because when you consider the ways that you procrastinate, when you understand your patterns, you're going to feel more empowered at reducing your delay tactics. Okay. So one of the things that happens with avoidance procrastination, in addition to being overwhelmed and not being able to break things down, is to feel like, wow, um, I really don't like doing this thing. So when we have tasks we don't like doing, we have an opportunity to do them in smaller chunks. So when you jump from one thing to another and you don't feel a sense of accomplishment, so you can set a timer and say, I'm going to work for 15 minutes on what is mail in this little corner. And when my timer goes off, I'm done. That's why the Pomodoro method is so effective. You work for 20, 25 minutes, you take a little break, and then you come back. Okay. So this is all about how to deal with the actual practicalities of avoidance. What we want to talk about next is how to deal with the emotional side of avoidance. So before I do that, I want to see what's in the chat, and then we'll come back to talk about the emotional side of avoidance. Wow, there's so many great comments. I don't know where to begin. Okay, I'm going to begin at the top, well, because Facebook has eliminated so many of them. Um, Book spreading and index cards worked when I was in college. Great. I'm the queen of planners and lists, and it's never ending. Right. So, one thing that we want to do is to make smaller lists. You can do a big brain dump, but then you want to take that list and only take the five top things. Or, if you can and you're able to, you can look through the list and see which are the five most urgent things. I'm going to deal with those. I make lists, but I do like your friend, have lists of a million things. So lists of a million things is only going to increase the chances of you doing avoidance procrastination because no one wants to do a list of a million things. It's intimidating, it's overwhelming, and it doesn't promote a sense of achievability. So that's the thing that is actually the counterweight to avoidance procrastination is achievability, a sense of achievability. How am I actually going to get done what I have to do? Okay. What about when you really have more tasks than one person can handle? That happens, Shelley, to so many of us, and particularly those of us who have a lot we want to do. We have big appetites. We are responsible for a lot of things. So I think when we have more things than we can actually do, what we need to do is do that big brain dump, and then take the five things that are urgent, that have a time related value, and do those first. And then go back and take five more things that maybe don't have a time related value, but are important to us and that matter. A brain dump, Cassandra says, a brain dump notebook has helped me tremendously in not feeling overwhelmed by all that is in my brain. Yes. Um, so many planners and stickers to make it fun and interesting. Great. I've worked with people who use different color markers, who use stickers. When they finish something, they actually reward themselves. They feel good about it because they want to acknowledge that they're making progress. This is where a body doubles or an accountability buddy comes in, particularly for avoidance procrastination. If you have someone you trust who can understand how much you hate the clutter in your kitchen, who maybe will come over and have a cup of coffee and kind of talk you through it or keep you company, or you can put up FaceTime or Skype and talk to you and help you while you're there. I have a client who basically said, I can't, my room is so disgusting. The clothes are everywhere and I don't even know where to start. And we were doing it it was a Zoom client. And I said, okay, do you want to show me what your room looks like? And she said, no, I'm too embarrassed. I said, okay, well, where could we start? And she said, well, I guess we could start with the dirty laundry. I could put that in the basket. I said, great. I'm going to sit right here with you and support you while you pick up the dirty laundry. And let's talk about how your day went at work while you're doing that. And we did that. And then I said, "And what's next?" She said, "Well, there's trash and like food wrappers and stuff." And I said, "Okay, what do you want to do with that?" She said, "Collect them and put them in the trash." So I sat with her while she did that. And slowly she was able to see her floor. She needed someone with her. So sometimes we need a body double, somebody who can help us by talking us through it or just supporting us while we're in it. Um, Cassandra says starting with trash actually makes me feel better because I'm getting rid of things and it gives me motivation to keep going. It can be very satisfying to pick up trash and throw it away. And you're like, wow, look at that. It's in a place where it belongs. Um, Welcome, Debbie. The emotional side, feeling of control. Yes, I have a process for tackling a sink that has thrown up dishes onto the counter as well. Great. What was the now, not now brain? Nicole, when you have ADHD, you have what I call a now, not now brain. You're focused on the now. If the now is very unpleasant or if the now is very pleasant, you're just going to stick with that. You don't want to deal with what might be on the other side of the now, the next present or the future. The emotional side, a safe way to express anger. I'm not going to do it. Need help with sabotage. Okay. Regular life seems to fill up the day. Clutter just stays there. Right. So you have to set aside specific time to do one of these projects that you're avoiding. It's not going to miraculously appear in your day like, oh, okay, I finished dinner. I'm going to clean up up the mud room, and or do my closet because that seems like a good thing to do after dinner. It's not going to happen. You need to schedule it when your brain is fresh and awake, perhaps in the morning or around lunch. Um, my ADHD needs to listen, but I want to go do something else. I'm distracted, but not bored. I clean my room over and over, like 3 days, and my room looks like it was before. Perhaps we could switch tasks. I finally gotten to the point where I'm doing 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes a day. But when the initial task needs to be 2 to 4 hours uninterrupted or throughout an entire day, the daily doesn't help as much. Right. So, what we want to do in those situations when we have a longer task is get a buddy to help you. You work for 15 minutes, you schmooze for 5. You work for 15 minutes, you take a little bathroom break and get some water. You work for 15 minutes and then maybe you're done for the day. We have to be able to chunk things up and set aside an outside amount of time. That's the total amount of time. So, like 1.5 hours, and then chunks in between. Suzanne, do better with week at a glance, post it on my kitchen cupboard door, fill in the pencil with each week. Also use the phone calendar, but I like a big visual, so paper calendar on the desk with a whole month, the more the merrier, and use pretty stickers as reward. Lovely. Let's see. I just lost a bunch of them. Sorry. My college notes were so colorful, I didn't realize it at the time, but this was probably to get me excited about studying. Not sure it helped, but it was better than avoidance. How could you translate that to your life now? Cassandra, I couldn't do half of what I do without a body double. I'm always talking to someone while doing dishes or cleaning the house. If I can't call anyone, I blast whatever music my brain wants to hyperfixate on, set my timer, and get going. Oh, yes, I have done some serious projects listening to the talking heads very loudly in my room. In fact, last weekend it was my closets. Um, Someone says I try to limit myself, use a Filofax. I'm a caregiver to several and not well myself, so I never feel like I can keep up. How can I start small when everything, and thank you Facebook for deleting that. When you want to start small when everything seems important, take one of those things. Your goal is to do one task at a time and feel a sense of accomplishment with that one task. One of the problems with avoidance is you're trying to do several tasks at the same time and accomplish most of them. And then you feel like you're not getting anything done. So we want to break it down. That's why that smaller list of 5 things, maybe for you, it's not 5 things, maybe it's 3 things. And then when that's done, you can move to that. It's harder as an adult because no one is rewarding you with validation after accomplishing something or visiting. That's true, but you can reward yourself. You can put your want tos after your have to. You want to watch the next episode of Bridgerton or The Flight Attendant? Great. Spend 30 minutes doing something you don't like and earn it as a reward. Um, yes, this will be archived. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about about the emotional side of avoidance, the self-sabotage, the self-loathing, and the shame. So we all have things we like to do and things we don't like to do. Whether you have ADHD or not, we all struggle with doing things we don't like to do. And this is why, okay? Dopamine, the neurotransmitter and the neural pathway, where it runs through the pathways in our brain, is all about reward, satisfaction, um, interest. ADHD brains naturally have lower amounts of dopamine. So if it's hard for a neurotypical brain to work up excitement about cleaning out the litter box, it's going to be twice or 3 times as hard for a 80 and ADHD brain to do that because you have lower amounts of dopamine for a task that's already a low dopamine task. If it were gaming, a high dopamine task, or maybe going for a run, or maybe meeting a friend for dinner, you would be more motivated to do that. And you wouldn't struggle as much because that's an inherently pleasurable task. It's these tasks that are not pleasurable that make it harder for us. And Cheryl says, it appears that I'm lazy, But to me, it's just like I can't. So I would like all of us to take lazy and put it in the trash. You are not lazy. There is no laziness. There are difficulties with motivation, with initiation, with persistence, with completion. But there's not laziness, because laziness implies you don't want to do the thing. Like you're not you basically don't care. And that's not what I'm hearing from any of you today or seeing. What I hear and see is that you do care, but you can't bring yourself to do it. So, what are we going to do when we cannot bring ourselves to do something? Make it smaller. Connect with a friend or family member to talk to us or sit with us when we do it. I do this myself. I have a writing group on Monday where I work on my blog with other people who are all around the country. We're all writing for an hour and 15 minutes. Our cameras are off, our volume is off, but we know we're together. We check in the beginning and we check in at the end. I do this on Friday. I have a group of friends, and this is also a get stuff done group. And often it's stuff we don't really want to do or projects we're working on, and we're just there supporting each other on the project, doing the project, knowing we're all working simultaneously on our own thing. This helps us, particularly for things that are kind of onerous. Like maybe you have 200 emails and you have to go through them, or maybe you have to write a report for work and it's really hard to do this on your own. How can you work with someone to buddy up so you're hanging out together? In the beginning, you say what your goal is, and then you work on that. And then at the end, you say, I was able to accomplish this part of my goal. I really appreciated it. Romeo says it's hard to stay focused for 15, so my brain is like everywhere. So 15 minutes is too long for you, Romeo. So you need to focus for 10 minutes if that's how long you can focus. And then you take a 2-minute body break and then you focus for another 10 minutes. Stop judging yourselves for how long you can focus or how long you can't focus. Okay. Okay. It's whatever you can focus on is what matters the most. Cassandra, being compassionate with yourself and giving yourself grace is the most important thing for everyone. I totally agree. Our brains don't like to be consistent with things. We get bored easily, and routines aren't always going to work for us together. Understanding this is what matters. Angela, that's right. Love podcasts when cleaning and doing the dishes. Sarah says self sabotage and shame plague me. I'm sorry, Sarah, to hear that. Part of the reason that we shame ourselves is because we should on ourselves. We should be doing this. We should be doing that. And then I'm gonna when I don't want to do this thing that I should be doing, I'm going to interfere with whatever progress I'm making because it doesn't feel like I'm doing it the right way, or I'm doing it enough, or I'm making fast enough progress, or whatever it is we tell ourselves. We are comparing ourselves to some ideal that is outside of ourselves and not who we are. Um, Stacy says, I passed my license and haven't sent off for the actual license or badge. So Stacy, what I would say to you is, who would help you? Who would sit with you or help you or talk you through actually the process of sending it off? You know, um, People with ADHD, we need to have our friends or our therapists or our coaches help us with things where we're stuck. It's natural to get stuck on some of these things. Let's not judge ourselves, but instead reach out with compassion. Um, Christina, prioritizing. We push everything to make it urgent to do, but now everything is urgent. So where do you start? The kitchen is a mess. There are no clothes. You're late for your meeting. The bathroom is dirty. Where do I start? I find that's the struggle. I can't make dinner because the kitchen is a mess, but the table is dirty, so there's nowhere to eat, and the dishes are dirty, so there's nothing to eat on, and I lost that. So, in that situation, I really appreciate your sharing that. So in that situation, it's one thing at a time. So maybe you're not going to make dinner that night. It's pizza, and you're going to work on the dishes and the table. and get other people who live with you to help you. You're like your children or your partner if you have them, or your parents if you live with them. And then set up a little bit of a routine. I'm going to do the dishes before I watch television. I'm going to do the dishes after um, I eat dinner. Or maybe in your family, the person who does the cooking doesn't do the dishes. That might be a great trade-off. Or the person who does the cooking clears the table, but doesn't do the dishes. You try to think a little bit about outside the box and delegate. Delegation is very important. Um, um, I don't like doing it because it takes so long. That's right, it takes long. So we're going to break it down into smaller things. Lynn, I like the idea of rewarding with watching a favorite series, but how do I stop binging on Netflix? My hyperfocus and inertia make me oblivious to timers. Timers, and you can actually even set you can set something on your computer, your Netflix, to turn off the internet at a certain time. Um, Binging, because you're hyper focusing, you want to watch all of a series at once, actually deprives you of the pleasure of using it as a reward later. So I would encourage you to set timers for yourself, and actually try to follow them, or have a buddy, or have a partner say, "You said you wanted to be upstairs every night by 10. It's now 9:59. What decision are you?" Well, just ask. I'm just reminding you because you asked me to. And then you can do it or not, but there it is. Um, okay. So I want to say a few more things about self-sabotage and shame. So when we are putting ourselves down, there's a voice in our head that is lived with us for a very long time. It's lived with us because since it's lived with you probably since when you before you had a diagnosis, and you were making mistakes and didn't know why, and were having trouble in school, or had trouble making friends, or had trouble at home, and um, it started on what's wrong with me? Why can't I? I should be able to. And the thing is that what I want to say to you is that voice developed at a time when it thought it was protecting you from pain and hurt and shame. And here you are now. You are a more mature person. And it's time to turn the volume down on that voice and turn the volume up on a different voice. The voice is, I'm making an effort that's better than nothing. I'm I can do this for 10 minutes, and that's better than not doing it at all. I'm engaging the help of my friend to sit with me on the phone while I clean the house, so I'm not alone. Some things are really hard for me, and that's okay. I'm learning. We need a different voice, and that voice has to come from the part of you, the deep inner knowing part of you that actually cares about yourself. And that part of you brought you here today. Because if you didn't have that part of yourself, you wouldn't have come. So I'd like you to think a minute and think about, what would that voice say to you? What encouraging thing would that voice say to you? And share it in the comments, because other people need to hear it. What could you say to yourself instead of the finger wagging, blaming, shaming, humiliating things you tell yourself because a task is hard for you? Why couldn't you say, wow, this is really hard for me. I think I need some more resources. I don't have the skills to do this task. Cheryl, I am enough. Beautiful. You are smart and you can do it. Beautiful. I matter. Do what you can, then break. You have come so far from just a year ago. Celebrate the intention. If I'm too much for anyone, go find less. I love that. I try my best and will keep trying. I can do it. You are such a blessing. I love that. It took me a long time to separate my brain from who I am as a person. I had to be diligent and change my self talk from I am to my brain is. Beautiful. I love that. You did good. You got this baby steps. Um, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for wanting to do better. These are fantastic. Progress, not perfection. Thank you, Fabiola. Um, others have told me, Whitney, others have told me I should be able to, so they use it against me that I didn't. Okay, in those instances, what you want to say to those people are, thank you for telling me that I can do it. I'm going to, the rest of the sentence is not helpful. So I can do it, but I have a neurodivergent brain. And sometimes what I can do isn't always what I can execute because I have executive functioning challenges. I'm learning, I'm getting help, I'm seeking sources and resources to make changes one at a time. The task is hard, but it won't last forever, and I am allowed to ask for help. You did a good job. I find this very hard. Yes, let's acknowledge that it's hard and it might stink. That's okay. You can say, wow, this is really nasty to do. I don't like it. Own it. And that's why I'm going to get this support. Um, uh, yes, good job. So I'm happy. I have ADHD, and some days I am so lonely. I am depressed and sad. Deborah, I hear you. Thank you for joining this community. We need more people like you to come up and speak up and say, I'm lonely. There are many people here who also struggle with ADHD, and they're here for you. We are here for you as a community every 2 weeks and maybe more than that. Um, try checking out ADA, ADDA as well. It's a great, oh, no, it's a great resource. I think it's add.com, maybe something like that. Oops, I can't put it in there. So I can't put it in, sorry. Um, one step at a time. And in fact, what I want to do right now is share with you my shame handout because I am sensing so much shame among so many of you. So this is a free downloadable on my website about shame. I hope you'll check it out. Um, because this is part of what we're talking about. You're amazing because this is hard. You're doing great. This was great advice. Thanks for your easy explanations. You're most welcome. Donna, and you need to connect with the person who said they're lonely. Send them a message directly and exchange emails. You are resilient. I learned this in DBT. You are doing the best that you can and you can do better. It's about this is for DBT therapy, acceptance and change. You can't change yourself until you accept yourself. And the doing better part with ADHD is getting the help you need to learn how. I like to say you're doing the best you can with the resources you have available to you. And if you're struggling, then you need more support and more resources. Let's see, some more comments here these are amazing. Is please try okay? Of course. Um, I don't have to be perfect to be amazing. Nope, I am enough. Delegate the hard parts. I would say you do amazing to caregive for two other people on top of yourself. People tell me I'm superwoman, so I'm working on believing this. I do my best to forget the rest. Oh, you should definitely listen to the Alicia Keys song Superwoman and play that loudly when you have a chance. Um, I have no one to talk to. Okay, Deborah, you need to connect with the other woman. No guys here. How do I motivate my 14-year-old son to do his work? Um, break it down. Give him incentives. Reward him for his efforts and small accomplishments. I'm so glad you came today, Sheila, also. Please offer more presentations like this. I will talk to Attitude about that. Please get the downloadable. I think it will help you. It hurts when my son tells me that I don't understand and we both have ADHD. You may not. He may have a different kind of ADHD. He may believe that he may say that just to hurt you because kids do that when they're trying to, find their own identity. I know it hurts you, but I wouldn't take it personally. I would say, you know what? We have different kinds of brains. Maybe I don't exactly understand. Explain to me, show me, tell me what I don't understand. On Hala, I own my condition. I'm doing the best I can, and that's good enough. Beautiful. You're doing your work, and that's enough. Ditto. I'm lonely too. Thanks for being here. This has been the worst week because I had COVID. I'm so sorry, Kelly. You're welcome. Um, that's a wonderful book, Cassandra, by my friend Sari Solden and Michelle Frank. This is a great book, A Radical Guide for Women with ADHD. I highly recommend it. Um, This is such a supportive group. Write a post on a sad day. We're here if you need a listening ear. Thank you. Big Mouth on Netflix has great episodes on anxiety and shame and how to overcome them, and they're hysterically funny. Oh, I'm going to check those out. I'm writing that down. Thank you. Althea, nice to see you. It's hard when you're doing something you don't want to do and shouldn't have to because it is someone else's stubborn choices. That is hard. And I think sometimes, people, particularly women, we take on things that aren't ours because we are conditioned that way. We want to avoid conflict. We are empathic. We're relational. So we have to work on setting limits. I'll put the link in one more time. Yep. Okay. Um, we can talk about motivating kids in a separate episode of our Facebook Live. You're welcome, Kathleen. Thank you, Joy, for coming. The first task you have is problem with getting out of bed. So, people who live with chronic pain often struggle to start in the morning. So, what I would encourage you to do is put on music that you really love and give yourself a slow amount of time to get out. Make a little playlist for yourself, morning music that will help you orient towards starting your day. I'll never forget that Michael Strayhorn, when he was on like Michael and Kelly, I think Kelly and Michael or whatever, he said that every day he listens to this song, A Lovely Day, by, oh my God, I'm having a moment. There are two people who sing it, and he listens to that every morning, and it helps him get out of bed and puts him in a good frame of mind. Um, yes, you can listen to this later and you can share it with your teen. Um, LD is different than ADHD, but it often travels with it. I think loneliness is part of it. Then song by Alicia Keys is Superwoman. I am Superwoman. It's a great song. Um, Thank you, Tina, for putting that out. Great asking for that. Um, I love that, Christina. You can't do the dishes right now, but I'm going to read for 20 minutes, set a timer, and then do half the dishes. That is fantastic. I want to say something to you, Christina. You are demonstrating exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes we don't have the brain power to do a task that's in front of us. So we say, okay, you know what? I'm going to read, I'm going to do my Wordle, and then I'm going to do the task. And I'm going to set a timer so I can get started. That's what I'm talking about in terms of breaking things down and ordering your tasks, organizing it. All right. Well, we are almost out of time. Um, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I want to encourage you to stay in touch with each other. There are so many amazing comments here. I don't even know where to begin. They're just incredible. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your true selves here and for being willing to risk any kind of embarrassment by opening up, because that's why we're here. We're here to support each other. We are here to support each other. Um, have a wonderful weekend. Bill Withers does it. And also, I think, is it Regina Spector? I'm not sure. Um, Motivating kids as a separate seminar would be fantastic. Okay, I'm happy to do that. I'll put that down. I did, there are some webinars in Attitude. I know I did one a few years ago, so you could check that out. You're welcome that it was more for adults. We're trying to do an every other week adults and then, things for everybody and then some for adults. You're welcome, Nicole. You're welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you were here, everybody. Thank you. Um, Learning difference, yes. So learning difference is a much nicer term. I like that term better. Often I say learning disability because in order to get services, you have to use that term. But I do prefer learning difference, just like I prefer outside the box thinking or attention wandering instead of an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or fast brain, because nobody wants to have a disability or a disorder. So thank you so much for bringing that up. You are a great group. Um, let's see. You're welcome. Big Mouth is great and raunchy. Be advised. Okay. Thank you. The connection. This was helpful. My first live chat ever. Oh, I'm so glad you came. Great. Get started for the weekend and cope after the loss of your dad. I'm sorry. That sounds hard. You're welcome. It's so great to feel like you're not alone. Yes, and the helpful ideas. I like to think of my ADHD more like my brain's mood. It comes and goes rather than a curse or a disabling thing. It's helped me so many times on my assignments, but also hindered me and allowed me to read extremely fast. My friends and parents help keep me on track on the days when it's worse and are extremely understanding and supportive. Um, you're welcome. I have a bad habit of getting on social media when I wake up. Next thing I know, 2 hours are gone. Music would be a much better way to start the day. You're welcome. And I would encourage you that if you can, I mean, if you have like Alexa or something like that, you probably can set that. Just like we would in the old days when I was a kid, I had a clock radio and I would set it and it would wake me up in the morning with a radio station. So you might want to try that. Um, Yes, boundaries are essential. People who are neurodivergent, particularly women, tend to be people pleasers out of a need to be accepted. I agree. One easy task and one hard task, it will build confidence. I love that. I love that you say that. One easy task and one hard task. It helps you kind of get in the flow and then you do the harder thing and then you can stop. Thank you so much for coming. It was great to have you, and I know I stayed a little longer to read all the chats, but they're really amazing. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Lynn. And may everyone have a beautiful weekend. And this weekend, break something down into a small chunk and do it for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And then give yourself a sticker or a pat on the back and go on to something else. Take care. Bye.